They are tripling down on gaining power. Look at this. This comes from a single bill that the Republican Party in North Carolina is ramming through. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, your real American, back in with a new video, and I hope everyone is having a great day. I'm having a great day myself, and before I get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. These are all great ways to support the daily content, but enough of the promotional stuff. Let's get into it, because it appears that the Republican Party in North Carolina is not going down without a fight. Yeah, that's right. Despite the fact that they did pretty bad a couple weeks ago, mostly because Mark Robinson shat the bed, it seems like the Republican Party in North Carolina continues to be very effective. For those that don't know, I have said for years that the North Carolina GOP, they're one of, if not the best Republican parties in the country. Like, there's some good ones here and there, but the North Carolina GOP is easily a top 5. You could argue of all the swing states, it's probably the best Republican Party, just for the simple fact that they don't piss around, and when they gain power, they actually use it. This has been the biggest problem for years with the Republican Party. They get power, and they do nothing with it. They do nothing. They have power for years, but they just sit there and say, we're against big government. We can't do anything. We're going to do nothing for 5 years, and then, when Democrats take power, we're going to complain about it. Not the North Carolina Republican Party. In fact, despite losing, and I know they did win the state legislature, they did win a couple statewide offices here and there, but let's be honest. November 5th was pretty bad for North Carolina Republicans. Mark Robinson lost by a lot because, well, obvious reasons. He dragged down Dan Bishop, Hal Weatherman. He dragged down a lot of Republicans up and down the ballot. Despite that, however, the Republican Party, they don't care. In fact, they are tripling down on gaining power. Look at this. This comes from a single bill that the Republican Party in North Carolina is ramming through, right? They have a veto-proof majority right now, though it will change in a couple weeks. That's why they're ramming it through now. And look at this. They proposed this single bill that effectively guts the power of the governorship, of the lieutenant governor, of the attorney general. Effectively, every position Democrats won, Republicans decided, you know what? We still got a supermajority. You know what? We're going to ram through this bill that effectively gets rid of all this power and gives it back to us. Yeah, you can't make this up. Like I said, the North Carolina Republican Party, they don't piss around. Just look at this. Prevents Governor-elect Josh Stein from appointing members onto the State Board of Elections by transferring their authority over to Republican Auditor Dave Bullock. Yeah, they purposely said, you know what, Josh Stein, you have no power over the State Board of Elections. In fact, the Republican that just won for the auditor race, guess what? He has control over that. Makes the State Highway Patrol an independent agency and requires Stein to get the General Assembly's approval for a 5-year appointment. If a Supreme Court or Court Appeal vacancy emerges, Stein must filter from a list of recommendations provided by the political party of the departing judge. This basically means that, if the Republican on the Supreme Court of North Carolina, which there's 5 of them, let's say one of them retires. Well, Josh Stein can't just say, you know what, I'm going to appoint a Democrat here. Nope. He has to pick from a list of recommendations from that political party. Effectively meaning, if any of the Republicans retire, he has to pick a Republican to fill that vacancy. Removes the seats of Wake County Superior Court Judge Brian Collins and Forsyth County Superior Court Judge Todd Burke. For those that don't know, these idiots for years have ruled against everything Republicans have done when it comes to pushing forward election reform. Anything they did, no matter what it was, these same judges were saying, no, you can't do that. That's illegal. That's unconstitutional for some BS reason. And you know what? The GOP said, okay, you're gone. Yeah, they just straight up said, these positions, they're gone. They don't exist anymore. Brian Collins and Todd Burke, they're gone. We don't have to ever hear about them again. They just vanish into the thin air. We never have to deal with these idiots ever again. Prohibits Attorney General-elect Jeff Jackson from participating in lawsuits that undercut actions taken by the General Assembly. Guys, the more you read this, the more it becomes clear that, yeah, the North Carolina GOP, they are not pissing around. Like I said, this is why I consider them to be a top 5, if not the best Republican Party of any state party. Can anyone name any other Republican Party outside of maybe Wisconsin when Scott Walker lost, but outside of that, name a Republican Party that did any of this when they suffered a defeat? Can you name a single one? I can't. Outside of maybe Wisconsin, which it really wasn't this insane. All right, I shouldn't even say insane, just, this huge, this impactful. What North Carolina Republicans did here was basically say, okay, anything the governor would have done, well, guess what? The Republican for, auditor, he controls that position. And now he has to go through the assembly for stuff like highway patrol. And the Democrats, for like the lieutenant governor governorship, for the attorney general, they effectively can't do anything negative towards the General Assembly. Giving the Republicans there effectively total control. They control the North Carolina government. All right, despite the fact they don't have the executive branch, they just control the legislature right now, and of course the Supreme Court. But that's more than enough to stop Jeff Jackson from doing anything dumb, stop Josh Stein from doing anything insane. I mean, guys, this is good stuff. And the fact is, they did this because they know if they don't do it now, they would never pass any of this, because right now, they got a veto-proof majority. They can ram this through no matter what Roy Cooper does. He can veto all of this, which he did, but guess what? It doesn't matter. North Carolina Republicans, they can ram it through anyways. Guys, this is amazing, but it continues. Prevents Lieutenant Governor Rachel Hunt from chairing committees on energy issues. The bill also eliminates the Energy Policy Council, which has been chaired by the Lieutenant Governor. Prevents Democratic Superintendent of Public Instruction-elect Mo Green from appealing decisions made by the Charter Schools Review Board. I mean, it just keeps going. It's like, wait a minute. This is coming from the Republican Party? Stuff like this usually comes from Democrats. Anytime Democrats lose, they always pull shit like this. At the last second, when they lose, it's like, crap, we're going to be out of power in 5 minutes. Quick, ram through as much as we can so Republicans can't do anything. They do this every year. Anytime they win a state legislature, anytime they win the governorship, they ram through this agenda, no matter how radical it is, because it doesn't matter. They lost. It doesn't matter. They lost the legislature, so who cares? And that's what's happening in North Carolina. They still have a big majority, but they're not going to have this veto-proof majority like they did a couple weeks ago. Now do you see why the Republican Party in North Carolina, they're good? They don't piss around with any of this. They realize, oh crap, Democrats have the governorship again. They have the attorney general. They have the lieutenant governor now. They have the superintendent. You know what? Screw it. Ram through this stuff now so they can't do a damn thing. In fact, they have to go through us to pass anything worth a damn. I mean, this is good stuff. But you could argue, well, okay, the Wisconsin GOP, when Scott Walker lost like 5 years ago, they did the same thing. They passed a lot of bills through that effectively made Tony Evers a lot weaker. Which is true. I understand that, yeah, Republicans in the past, they've sometimes done stuff like this, but let's be honest, outside of the Wisconsin GOP 5 years ago, can anyone name an example of any Republican Party doing something like this? Maybe Florida? But even then, they control everything. It's like, okay, yeah, the Republican Party, they control everything. They don't have to worry about, oh, a Democrat sneaking through and magically winning the governorship. Because even then, they have such a big majority in both chambers, they can just override any veto, so it doesn't really matter. But I would argue that what the Republican Party is doing right now is tamed compared to what's happening in the Supreme Court race. Yeah, I said that. Despite the fact that they're gutting all power from the governor, from the attorney general, basically every position Democrats control, the Republican Party, they are going even further. Now, for those that don't know, there is a very close Supreme Court race in North Carolina. And this is a big deal because if Republicans win this, it would make the Supreme Court 6-1. All right, we got the majority no matter what. It's not one of those things where, oh, if Republicans lose, it's be 4-3 down. No. If we win the seat, it would be 6-1 Republican, basically giving us complete control, which we already kind of do. But if it's 6-1 Republican, Republicans could do whatever the hell they want, which they kind of already do in North Carolina. Like, yeah, it's already 5-2 Republican, and these are partisan Republicans. They're not like, oh, moderate Republicans that vote against us. No, these are partisan Republicans that actually do stuff worth a damn, right? So it's kind of a big deal that if we make this 6-1, no matter what happens, Republicans, they can pass whatever they want. They could force through anything they want, and which they already kind of do. But you get the point that making it 6-1 would be such a massive victory. Well, right now, Allison Riggs, the Democrat, has won the race by roughly 700 votes. It's very close. There's a bunch of recounts going on, and there's a lot of fights going over provisional ballots, right? It's a typical, you know, oh, it's a very close race. We want to recount. We want all that stuff. That happens every time there's a close election. But the North Carolina GOP, they're not just asking for a recount and all that, which is the usual thing. Like, you're in a close race, ask for a recount. That's not what they're doing. That's part of it, but look at this. There is rumors circulating, which I cannot confirm if this is 100% real, but there seems to be some legitimacy here, that Republicans in the state legislature, they are prepared to vacate the recent election for the state Supreme Court race. Yeah, there's a chance that the Republican Party, they look at this race and say, you know what? We have control over the legislature. We can do whatever we want. And you know what? Why don't we vacate the election? Let's just say, you know what? We got to redo the election for whatever reason. Whatever reason they give, they could theoretically do that. Which, for those that don't know, it's in the state constitution. It is a North Carolina law where these election protests, if they go to this General Assembly, they could theoretically have a redo the election. Which, again, I'm not saying that's for sure going to happen. I mean, a million things could happen before we even get to this point. I'm not saying it's for sure going to happen. But the fact that Republicans are even considering the idea of, hey, we still have power. And you know what? We want a 6-1 Supreme Court, so we can do whatever we want. You know what? Well, let's look at trying to redo the election. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but funny enough, if it does happen, Democrats have themselves to blame for it possibly occurring. For those that don't know, just 5 years ago, the North Carolina Democrat Party, they lost their shit when they lost a House race in North Carolina. So much so that they did so much complaining to the election board that they forced a redo of that election. So it has happened. I'm not saying it's for sure going to happen or if it's a good idea or not, but can you name a single Republican Party anywhere, Florida, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Texas, any of these states, where they will say, you know what, we lost this race by, 700 votes. It was a very close race. But you know what? We're going to redo the election. We have power right now. We want more. I can't think of a single state party that would do anything like this. Is it a guarantee it happens? No, it's a very risky move. But if Republicans actually do this and they somehow win, which I'm not saying they will, but it just shows you that the North Carolina GOP, they don't piss around. Which makes sense because guess where Michael Whatley's from? The RNC chair? He used to be the North Carolina GOP chair. Yeah, the RNC chair is from North Carolina. So it makes sense why the RNC out of nowhere became more effective. They know what they're doing now. Because the same people that ran the North Carolina GOP, they're now running the RNC. We'll see what happens, but this is why I love this party. This party is effective. They know what they're doing. They don't piss around. And by the way, this is a swing state. This is North Carolina. We're not talking about South Carolina, Texas, Florida. No, this is North Carolina, and they're doing this. And the sad part is, though, you have deep red states where they have 99% of the state legislature, they have all the statewide positions, and they would never in a million years do anything like this. They wouldn't. They're so terrified. They're like, oh, we have to treat Democrats with respect. We have to treat them nicely. But I guarantee you, if Democrats were in the same position as Republicans are in now in North Carolina, they would do the exact same thing. Got the powers of the governorship, of the lieutenant governor, of the attorney general, every position, just because we lost. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.